The galaxy was not empty. For countless ages, great alien empires ruled the stars. They had built cities on 1,000 worlds, created weapons that could burn planets, and written histories that stretched back millions of years. To them, time was endless, and power was eternal. They thought no one could ever rise against them. In the middle of this grand empire there was one small world. A blue planet filled with oceans, mountains, and life. It was Earth. To the alien masters, Earth was nothing special. Humans were seen as weak, primitive, and unimportant. They fought wars among themselves, argued about borders, and wasted their strength. The great species of the galaxy looked at humanity and laughed. They said humans would never leave their home, never stand tall in the stars. But deep inside this little species, something different was growing. While other aliens grew slowly, humans were fast. Their minds were restless. They failed, they tried again, they learned. In one lifetime, a human could create what other species needed centuries to build. In just a few hundred years, they had moved from fire to machines, from ships on oceans to rockets in space. The empires noticed, but they did not fear. Not yet. Then something happened that changed everything. A signal came from the deep void. It was faint, old, and broken, but it carried strange patterns no alien could understand. For years it drifted through the stars, ignored by the great empires. When it reached Earth, humanity listened. Their scientists studied it, their machines decoded it, and slowly, a hidden message appeared. For the first time, a species understood what no other could. The signal spoke of lost knowledge, of ancient power buried in the galaxy. And for reasons no one could explain, only humans could read it. It was as if the message had been waiting for them. At first, governments on Earth kept it secret. But humans are not a quiet species. Curiosity is their nature. Pieces of the code spread across networks, whispers grew louder, and soon the world knew. Some were afraid, others excited. But all felt the same truth: humanity was no longer just a small species on a lonely planet. Something greater had begun. The aliens did not believe it. When their ships passed near Earth, they saw nothing unusual. Just another young world trying to climb out of the dark. But small changes had already started. Hidden labs worked on new designs, inspired by the signal. Machines became faster, weapons became stronger, and strange discoveries were made that should not have been possible. Humans had unlocked something new, something dangerous. Among the alien rulers, the first whispers began. A merchant ship spoke of human technology far too advanced for their age. A spy returned with reports of weapons built from ideas no other race could even imagine. And one patrol captain told a story of Earth's defenses glowing with strange energy when his ship came too close. The Council of Empires ignored him. They said humans were dreamers, nothing more. But in the dark halls of power, some were uneasy. They remembered old legends. Stories of a species that would rise from nowhere, a species that would learn too fast, adapt too quickly, and one day break the balance of the stars. Many laughed at these stories. Yet when they looked at Earth, some felt the shadow of truth. Meanwhile, on the blue planet, humanity changed. Nations that once fought now shared knowledge. Old enemies now spoke as allies. Slowly, walls came down, and a single thought grew stronger: survival. Humanity knew they were not alone anymore. And they knew the galaxy was not kind. One night, far above the clouds, a telescope caught sight of something new. A fleet of alien ships was moving closer to Earth. They were not coming in peace. They were scouts, ordered to watch, to test, to measure. The humans prepared in silence. The alien commanders expected an easy show of power. They would orbit Earth, send a warning, and leave. That was how it always worked with young species. But when their ships reached orbit, they found human satellites moving in strange patterns, sending signals faster than they could track. Their scans showed weapons that should not exist, technology that humans should not understand. For the first time, the aliens felt doubt. On the ground, leaders watched the skies with tense faces. Soldiers waited in hidden bases. Scientists whispered about power still locked within the strange signal. Humanity was not ready for war, but they would not bow. Not now, not ever. The fleet above Earth sent their report back to the Empire. The message was clear. Humanity had awakened. And in that moment, the galaxy shifted. A small blue planet that had been ignored for ages now stood on the edge of destiny. The rulers of the stars did not know it yet, but the age of human weakness was over. Something new was rising, something that would change everything. It was only the beginning. The alien fleet moved around Earth like hungry predators circling their prey. Their ships were sharp and dark, built from metals humans had never seen. Each vessel carried weapons strong enough to tear through cities in seconds. To the Empire, this was not a war. It was only a reminder to a young species: stay small, stay weak, or be destroyed. The alien commander watched Earth from the window of his flagship. To him, humans were insects crawling on the surface of their little blue rock. His orders were simple. Scan their weapons, test their defenses, and show them fear. He believed the mission would end quickly. But from the very first scan, he saw something that made him pause. Earth's satellites were not silent. They were moving with purpose, linking together, sharing signals at speeds the Empire had not seen before. Data flowed between them like a living web. It was messy, chaotic, but strangely powerful. The commander frowned. Chaos was not supposed to be dangerous. Yet somehow, this chaos felt alive. Down on Earth, humanity held its breath. Leaders sat in hidden bunkers, scientists monitored screens, and soldiers waited. For the first time in history, every nation looked at the same sky with the same fear. The alien ships were proof that humans were not alone. But more than fear, there was anger. Humanity had suffered wars, disasters, and endless struggles. They had survived themselves. And now, if the galaxy wanted to test them, they would survive that too. The aliens sent their first message. It was short and cold. It declared Earth as a minor world under the protection of the Empire. Humans were ordered to obey, to hand over their technology, and to never leave their planet without permission. To the aliens, this was mercy. To the humans, it was chains. For 2 days, the world argued. Some wanted peace, afraid of the alien firepower above. Others demanded resistance, even if it meant destruction. But while politicians debated, a secret group of scientists and soldiers prepared something else. They had studied the strange signal, the message from the stars that only humans could read. From it, they built new weapons, small, imperfect, but powerful enough to bite back. When the alien fleet sent drones into the atmosphere, expecting no fight, they were met with fire. Human missiles launched with unnatural accuracy. Drones fell in bright flames. Satellite lasers, built in secret, cut through alien metal like glass. For the first time in countless years, an imperial fleet lost machines to a primitive species. The commander was furious. He ordered a strike. Alien ships targeted military bases, ready to destroy. But something happened he did not expect. Human defenses adapted. Within minutes, their weapons changed frequency, shifted angles, and countered attacks. Every time the aliens adjusted, humans learned. Every moment the battle continued, humanity grew stronger. Across the planet, people watched the skies burn with trails of light. Fear turned into courage. Families prayed, soldiers fought, children looked up and whispered, "We are not weak." In that moment, the species that had once been ignored began to believe in itself. The aliens did not understand. They had crushed dozens of worlds before. None had resisted for long. But Earth was different. The more pressure they gave, the more the humans pushed back. It was like fighting a storm that refused to die. The battle lasted only hours, but it was enough. The fleet had expected victory, yet they left orbit with half their ships damaged. In the Council of the Empire, the news spread fast. Some laughed, saying the commander was incompetent. Others grew silent. If even a scouting fleet had struggled, what would happen if humanity kept growing? Back on Earth, celebrations filled the night. Cities lit up, people cheered, and hope spread like fire. They had faced the unknown and survived. But the leaders of Earth were not fooled. They knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not forget. The Empire would not forgive. In secret, the scientists decoded more of the strange signal. It spoke of ancient wars, of hidden power, and of dangers far greater than the Empire. Humanity began to see its path. If they wanted to live, they could not stay on their little planet. They had to rise. High above the stars, the surviving alien commander sent his final report to the Empire. His voice was tight with anger and fear. His words were simple. The humans are dangerous. They learn too fast. They must be destroyed before it is too late. The message carried across the galaxy, and in the halls of alien power, silence followed. The great species, rulers of the stars, now whispered a new name with unease. Humanity. And deep within Earth, the fire of awakening burned brighter. It was no longer a question of survival. It was the beginning of something far greater. The galaxy was vast, filled with hundreds of intelligent races. But above them all stood the Council of Species, a gathering of the most ancient and powerful civilizations. For thousands of years, they had ruled the stars, keeping order with fleets, laws, and fear. No new race had ever challenged their rule. Until now. When the first reports of humanity's defiance reached the Council, most members laughed. To them, Earth was just a backwater world, barely able to touch the edge of space. How could such a young species harm the empire that had lasted for ages? The idea seemed absurd. But the laughter did not last. The surviving commander of the fleet arrived, scarred and broken. His voice carried both shame and terror. He spoke of weapons that humans should not have, of defenses that adapted faster than logic allowed, of soldiers who fought without fear. He told them that humanity was unlike any species he had ever faced. They were reckless, unpredictable, and terrifyingly fast at learning. The council chamber grew silent. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the galaxy felt doubt. One of the oldest counselors, a being with eyes like burning suns, rose to speak. He reminded them of an old legend, a story so ancient most thought it was only myth. It spoke of a young species that would one day rise from nothing, grow with impossible speed, and challenge the order of the galaxy. That species would be a storm, destroying the old and bringing a new age. Many had dismissed this as fantasy. But now, when they looked at the humans, some felt a chill. Still, not all agreed. Some species scoffed at the warnings. They said the humans had been lucky, nothing more. One battle did not make them dangerous. Others argued that crushing Earth would be easy if the Council sent a true Armada. To them, humans were only insects who had bitten a giant. And insects could always be crushed. But there were voices of fear. A scholar species, known for memory longer than mountains, spoke in trembling tones. They showed how fast humanity had advanced in only a few centuries, a speed unmatched in galactic history. They warned that if humans were not stopped now, they would soon outpace even the greatest empires. They are not like us, the scholar whispered. They are something new. The debate raged for days. Some wanted to ignore humanity, to watch from a distance. Others demanded immediate destruction. A few even suggested making humans allies, to guide and control them before they became too strong. But in the end, fear won. The Council voted. A massive fleet would be gathered, larger than anything Earth could resist. It would travel to the Sol system, burn human defenses, and remind the galaxy who ruled. The decision was clear: humanity would be crushed before it could grow any further. Yet even as the vote ended, not all were convinced. A handful of counselors remained silent, watching the stars with unease. They remembered the look in the human soldiers' eyes, the way they fought as if death itself was powerless against them. Deep inside, they wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. Far away, on Earth, humanity did not yet know of the decision. But they could feel the storm coming. Scientists uncovered more from the ancient signal, and their discoveries grew stranger. The message spoke not just of weapons but of something deeper, hidden potential inside humans themselves. Soldiers began to show instincts that could not be explained. Pilots reacted faster than machines. Engineers solved problems in seconds that should have taken years. Something was changing in the human mind, something no alien had seen before. Leaders met in secret, aware of the growing danger. They knew the Empire would not forgive their defiance. They knew fleets would come. And they knew humanity was not yet ready. But retreat was not in their nature. In the skies above Earth, the first human-built starships took shape. They were crude compared to alien vessels, but filled with creativity, flexibility, and spirit. No single ship was perfect, but together they formed something unpredictable, something alive. Humanity's fleet was being born. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Some alien species cheered in secret, hoping the humans would succeed where they had failed. Others trembled, fearing what a human victory would mean for their future. And in the dark corners of space, ancient beings stirred, curious about this young species that dared to challenge the order of stars. In the grand halls of the council, orders were given. The Armada began to gather, engines glowing like suns, weapons ready to bring fire upon Earth. To the old empires, this was justice. To the humans, it would soon be survival. The galaxy was preparing for war. And somewhere deep in the human heart, a new fire was rising, one that even the Council of Species could not understand. The decision of the Council spread across the galaxy like thunder. Fleets began to move, thousands of ships leaving their homeworlds, all heading toward one small blue planet. To the great empires, this was just another operation. But to Earth, it was survival against the impossible. On the planet below, humanity felt the coming storm. Leaders of nations gathered in secret chambers, their voices heavy with fear but also with resolve. For centuries, humans had fought each other over land, power, and pride. But now those divisions began to fade. They faced not each other, but the galaxy itself. Borders meant nothing when the skies above were filled with enemies. For the first time in history, Earth stood as one. Factories that once built cars and planes now forged starship frames. Laboratories worked day and night, blending alien knowledge with human creativity. Engineers who had never seen the stars now designed weapons to pierce alien armor. Soldiers trained together, no longer for countries but for humanity itself. Slowly, painfully, the human race began to transform. The strange signal from the stars guided them still. Scientists unlocked more of its secrets, and every discovery changed the world. Energy sources more powerful than anything humans had known. Shields that bent light. Engines that moved faster than old physics allowed. Each breakthrough seemed impossible, yet somehow, humanity made it real. It was as if the signal had been waiting for their hands, for their minds, for their spirit. But something else was happening, something no one could explain. Among soldiers and pilots, strange instincts began to rise. Reflexes faster than machines, senses sharper than logic, courage that bordered on madness. Doctors tested them and found nothing unusual, yet the results were undeniable. Humanity itself was changing. The signal had not only given them knowledge, it had awakened something inside. Whispers spread. Were humans evolving? Were they unlocking powers hidden in their blood since the dawn of time? No one knew. But as alien fleets gathered in the dark, humanity's faith in itself grew stronger. High above the planet, the first human fleet was born. The ships were not elegant like those of the Empire. They were rough, heavy, and full of flaws. But they carried something alien vessels lacked: adaptability. Each ship was designed to change in battle, to learn from mistakes, to fight in ways no empire could predict. Where aliens built perfection, humans built evolution. The people of Earth watched their new fleet rise from the oceans and deserts, their hearts filled with both pride and fear. Children pointed at the sky and cheered. Old men wept, remembering a time when humanity had been divided and weak. Now they saw a future where the species stood together. But shadows grew darker. Scouts reported strange movements near the edge of the solar system. The Empire's Armada was coming, vast and unstoppable. Thousands of ships, weapons bright as suns, a force built to destroy. Humanity had days, maybe weeks, before the storm arrived. Inside Earth's command centers, tension ran high. Generals debated strategy, scientists pushed for faster progress, leaders argued about survival versus pride. Some still believed peace was possible, that perhaps the Empire would show mercy. But most knew the truth. The aliens had no mercy. The Council feared humanity's rise, and fear always demanded blood. In the quiet of night, many humans asked themselves the same question: could they survive? The answer was uncertain. Yet when the dawn came, people rose, worked, and prepared. Humanity had always faced the impossible. And every time, they had endured. Deep in space, hidden beyond the Empire's eyes, smaller alien races watched the humans closely. Some felt hope. They had lived under the shadow of the Council for too long, and now they saw a chance for change. Others felt dread. They knew if humanity won, the galaxy itself would never be the same. On Earth, the awakening continued. Soldiers who once doubted now stood fearless. Pilots swore they could feel the movements of their ships as if the machines were part of their own bodies. Engineers designed weapons in dreams, waking with blueprints already in their minds. Something greater than technology was unfolding. Humanity was no longer only flesh and blood. They were becoming something new. When the first human fleet left orbit, silence fell across the planet. The world watched as their creations climbed into the black void, engines burning with defiance. It was more than war. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would not hide. Humanity would fight. And far away, as the Armada of the Council drew closer, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. The old empires believed they were marching to victory. But in truth, they were marching toward something they had never faced before. An awakened humanity. The silence of space broke as the Armada arrived. Thousands of alien ships stretched across the void like a wall of steel and fire. Their engines glowed like suns, their weapons shimmered with deadly light. It was a sight designed to crush hope. For ages, this fleet had conquered without question. World after world had fallen before them. Now their target was Earth. In the dark of command chambers across the fleet, alien generals spoke with cold certainty. Humanity was young, reckless, and arrogant. Their defiance was foolish. The battle, they believed, would be short. But far below, on the blue planet, humanity stood ready. The first human fleet hovered above Earth, smaller, fewer, and weaker in appearance. Their ships were rough and strange, built from pieces of alien knowledge mixed with human creativity. To the Empire, they looked like toys. To the humans, they were hope made real. As the alien Armada entered orbit, silence gripped the world. Billions watched from screens, waiting for the first strike. Then, with a burst of fire, war began. Alien cruisers unleashed beams of energy that split the night sky. Human shields flared, struggling to hold. Explosions shook the void. Dozens of human ships burned in the first minutes, torn apart by overwhelming power. The aliens laughed. It was going exactly as they expected. But then, something changed. Human ships began to move differently. They shifted formation with strange, chaotic patterns, never the same twice. Their weapons adapted, changing frequency, piercing shields that had been thought unbreakable. Every minute they fought, they learned. Every loss gave them new answers. Where other species broke, humanity evolved. Alien generals frowned. Their perfect strategies, repeated for centuries, were failing. No matter how they struck, the humans responded faster than logic allowed. It was like fighting water, it bent, shifted, and flowed around their power, then struck back when they least expected. In one corner of the battle, a small human destroyer faced 3 alien warships. By numbers, it should have been destroyed in seconds. Yet the human crew fought with reckless courage, changing tactics with every breath. They fired missiles in patterns no computer could predict, dodged blasts with insane precision, and finally rammed one alien ship, tearing it apart in a blaze of fire. The other 2 ships fell soon after, destroyed by human allies who had learned from that sacrifice. Across the fleet, stories like this unfolded. Humanity's weakness was their strength, they embraced chaos. No alien mind could understand it, but together, humans turned disaster into opportunity. On Earth, the world trembled as the battle raged above. Families hid in shelters, children clutched their parents, but all listened to the same broadcasts. They heard the voices of human pilots, steady and defiant, refusing to surrender. And in those voices, the world found courage. Hours passed, and the war grew brutal. Both sides suffered heavy losses. The alien Armada, built to dominate, had never fought an enemy like this. The humans, blooded but unbroken, refused to fall. Their spirit infected every ship, every crew, every soul. Then came the moment that changed the galaxy. The alien flagship, a massive vessel larger than cities, moved into position. Its weapon could shatter continents in one strike. The generals believed destroying Earth itself would end this rebellion forever. Energy gathered at its core, bright enough to blind. The fate of humanity hung on seconds. But one human ship, small and broken, charged forward. Its crew knew they could not survive. Yet they also knew they could not let Earth die. With engines burning, they flew straight into the heart of the flagship's weapon. The explosion ripped through the alien giant, tearing it apart in a storm of fire and metal. The impossible had happened. The Empire's pride was destroyed by the very species they thought too weak to matter. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. The alien fleet froze in disbelief. Their commanders were dead, their symbol of power shattered. And in that silence, humanity roared. The remaining human fleet surged forward with fury. Alien ships, once invincible, fell one after another. Panic spread among the Armada. Discipline broke. The Empire, which had never known fear, felt it now. At last, the aliens retreated. Thousands of their ships scattered into the dark, leaving Earth scarred but alive. Humanity had not only survived, they had won. The war was not over. The Empire still had fleets, still had worlds, still had power. But the illusion of their dominance was gone. Across the galaxy, races who had suffered under their rule watched in awe. For the first time in ages, they saw hope. If humans could rise, maybe others could too. On Earth, the victory was mourned as much as it was celebrated. Cities had burned, fleets had fallen, countless lives had been lost. Yet the people stood taller than ever before. They had faced the greatest power in the galaxy and endured. Humanity had changed. They were no longer a young species chained to a single world. They were warriors of the stars, builders of destiny, a storm that could not be stopped. And in the Council's chambers, fear spread like fire. They had tried to crush humanity. Instead, they had created a legend. The war that was meant to end humanity had only just begun. The war was over, but the galaxy was no longer the same. The empire that had once seemed eternal now carried a wound it could not hide. Its great armada had been broken, its flagship destroyed, and its pride shattered. Billions of voices across alien worlds whispered the same word with awe and fear. Humans. On Earth, the victory burned bright in every heart. Cities rebuilt, families mourned their dead, but the people stood proud. For the first time in history, they looked at the stars not with wonder, but with belonging. The universe was no longer the domain of others. Humanity had earned its place. The fleet that had once been small and fragile returned as heroes. Ships scarred by battle drifted into orbit, cheered by the entire world. Pilots who had risked everything were celebrated as legends. Yet even as joy filled the planet, leaders knew the truth. The Empire would return. The Council would not forgive. And darker threats still lingered in the void. In secret laboratories, scientists continued to study the signal that had guided humanity from the beginning. More of its secrets unfolded, revealing knowledge of ancient wars and civilizations long forgotten. It spoke of weapons hidden in lost systems, of worlds where power slept, waiting to be awakened. And most mysterious of all, it spoke of humanity itself. The message claimed that humans were not ordinary, that within their minds and bodies lay something unique, something that had been waiting for the right moment to rise. It did not explain why. It did not explain how. But the more humans fought, the more it became clear, the prophecy was real. They adapted faster than machines. They resisted powers that broke other species. They fought with courage that bent destiny itself. Humanity was changing, and no one could stop it. Across the galaxy, smaller races began to rise. Some reached out to humans, offering friendship and alliance. Others begged for protection, hoping Earth could shield them from the Council's wrath. To them, humanity was more than a species. It was a symbol of hope. But not all saw it that way. In the ruined halls of the Council, fear ruled. Leaders of ancient empires gathered in anger, their voices filled with dread. If humanity could destroy their strongest fleet today, what could they do tomorrow? Some demanded peace, but most demanded war. They swore that humanity must be erased before it grew too strong. Even beyond the Council, darker forces stirred. In the cold corners of the galaxy, ancient beings that had slept for ages opened their eyes. They had felt the awakening of humanity, and they watched with interest. Some saw danger. Others saw opportunity. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy was no longer silent. It was alive with change. On Earth, preparations began for what was to come. The first human colonies were planned beyond the solar system. More ships were built, stronger and faster than before. Training centers rose where soldiers and pilots learned not just skill, but instinct, those strange, impossible instincts that no alien could explain. Humanity was no longer only defending. Humanity was reaching outward. At night, when people looked at the stars, they did not see enemies or threats. They saw a future written not by the Council, not by the empires, but by themselves. Humanity had been underestimated once. It would never be underestimated again. Yet within that triumph, there was unease. The signal that had guided them still pulsed with unanswered questions. Who had sent it? Why could only humans understand it? And what lay beyond the galaxy's edge, where even the Council's maps ended? The war had ended, but the journey had only begun. As the human fleet rose once more into the dark, their engines burning against the void, the galaxy trembled. Old empires prepared for vengeance, allies searched for guidance, and ancient shadows watched in silence. The story of humanity was no longer about survival. It was about destiny. And in the endless night of space, one truth became clear. They had dominated the galaxy for ages. But now, humanity had awakened. And nothing would ever be the same.